At the beginning of the film, we see a girl named Faye moving through a dark passage in rainy weather, at the end of which she notices a group of teenagers beating up a stranger. This scene turns out to be another of her nightmares, in which Faye's other personality smiles. The alternate self, hidden deep inside, begins to recall her beautiful childhood, full of happiness and carefree joys. Until last summer, when Faye's parents were in love and happy. Until one terrible day, when her father had a seizure that ended the family's serene life. The head of the family is now permanently confined to a wheelchair. Now the man cannot do without help. Faye comes to an acting class where they give out roles for the school play Macbeth. The main role goes to her, and it comes as a surprise. The girl's understudy is Monica, who isn't pleased with this distribution. Both girls have bright red hair. After lessons, a jealous classmate gloats, reminding Faye that everyone at school feels sorry for her because of her father's illness. Faye says goodbye to her friends and walks past the hooded guys, the same ones that haunt her in her nightmares. She walks through the dark passage again, as in a dream, but inwardly ready for anything. However, the girl is suddenly startled by her classmate Drew, who decides to play a joke. The girl walks on, and suddenly a vague shadow appears behind her. But as soon as she turns around, the shadow is gone. Faye comes home and complains about the eerie fog. Her father is watching the crime news and voices his concerns for his daughter, but Faye tells him with a smile that everything is fine. However, when Mom comes home, the girl changes her mood and quickly goes to her room. She really likes taking pictures. This hobby calms her down, so she starts taking pictures of her wall with posters. The inner voice in her head repeats again and again that Faye can't hide from her fears anywhere. When she finishes washing her face and leaves, her reflection in the mirror remains for a few seconds. In the morning, the girl and her mother get stuck in the lift with her elderly neighbor, who complains that the lift hasn't worked well for a long time. Suddenly, the neighbor remembers that Faye was almost late for school yesterday, going down the stairs. But the girl corrects her, because yesterday she took the lift. In fact, she hasn't used the stairs since they moved here. But the neighbor continues to argue, because she can't confuse her with anyone else because of her bright red hair. She used to have gorgeous hair herself. As Faye walks through the same tunnel as always, she suddenly notices the "I am here" sign on the wall, which wasn't there before, and takes a picture of it. The school starts rehearsing a scene from a play, but Faye can't concentrate. Then the teacher tells her to watch the play Macbeth for inspiration. As Faye heads to the classroom to watch the film, she notices that someone is following her. And something inexplicable begins to happen in the study. The lights are flashing, and the glass are covered with cracks. In a panic, Faye runs back to the corridor and calls for help. At that moment, everything goes back to normal, and her classmates come running to her screams, not believing the girl's words. Faye convinces them that someone was chasing her, but Monica laughs, and so does everyone else. Faye suspects that it is Monica who is stalking her. Drew offers to walk the girl home, but she refuses, as her mother always takes her by car. As she and her mother drive home, Faye answers her parents' questions very sharply and is rude. At home, Faye transfers the pictures to her laptop and suddenly notices the one she took in the tunnel. The writing on the wall scares her again. At school, Faye becomes increasingly absent-minded and gets distracted in class by a swing that moves by itself. She starts to notice a girl who looks like herself, and in the lift, she sees that her reflection doesn't repeat her actions. All this really scares the poor girl. Her father is very worried about his daughter. He realizes that something is happening to her, but doesn't know how to help. The man insists that his wife Anne go out with her friends, as she intended, although in fact, he has long suspected that she is cheating on him. His doubts are justified. A happy Anne gets into the car with her lover. This scene is seen by him and Faye, who again notices a girl who looks like her right next to the car. When Faye gets out of the bathroom, she hears her father talking to someone. She doesn't pay much attention to it until she suddenly realizes that he is lying to her, saying it's just the radio. When Faye leaves the room, it turns out that her father is talking to a ghostly copy of his daughter. On the way to school, the girl meets Drew again, and they have a conversation. Faye shows him the habits of the one that is following her to prove that it is not a delusion. After all, she is getting more and more stressed by the weirdness that is happening over and over again. She goes to school and meets her neighbor again, who thinks the girl is playing a trick on her and is very angry. The old lady is sure that she saw Faye coming down the stairs a minute ago. The girl starts to panic and runs after the stranger down the stairs, shouting after her. But then Faye runs out of the house, and the shadow disappears as if it was never there. Faye tries to find a logical explanation for all these oddities, but it doesn't work out well. Everyone thinks the girl is crazy. To give Monica no chance, she cuts off her long hair. With her mother, Faye sits in the pool where her father is doing aqua therapy. Her mother tries to talk to her, and Faye finally admits that someone is stalking her and copying her looks and mannerisms. It's like she has a twin. Hearing these words, the mother's face changes. Yes, Faye had a twin in the womb, but due to difficulties during pregnancy, Anne lost her. The baby was buried in St. Stephen's Chapel. That lost baby girl was named Lila by her parents. After her mother's revelations, Faye feels better. They go shopping together, laughing, chatting, and getting their hair done at the salon. In a nightmare, Faye sees her double again, and this again dealt a blow to her. She can't concentrate on rehearsals, remembering this terrible dream, but in the end, she finds strength, comes to her senses, and plays the scene well. After a successful rehearsal, Faye goes on a date with Drew. The girl shares with him her worries about her dead twin. The guy walks Faye to the house, where the girl discovers her father, who has fallen from his wheelchair. She helps him up and suddenly notices an ultrasound image of her mother's pregnancy on the floor. It shows herself and her twin sister. Grabbing the picture, the girl takes it, despite her father's protests. The next day, outside the school, Faye sees her acting teacher, John, arrive in the same car in which her mom was kissing her lover. That's it. It turns out John is her mom's new man. When he approaches to find out why Faye didn't wave back at him, the girl denies that she was even in the school playground at the time. He must have mistaken another girl for her. Suddenly, she sees Monica, who has the exact same haircut. Unable to contain her rage, Faye attacks her. This is followed by a showdown in the principal's office, who claims that Monica wasn't on the playground that morning. She came much earlier for rehearsal. Suddenly, Faye grabs a pair of scissors and cuts her arm so she can be distinguished from her double. At the nurse's station, she has stitched up the wound and warned that it will leave a scar. When the mother picks her daughter up from school, she blames her and says, "So this is how she was given the role." The mother is deeply ashamed and makes a promise to break up with John. In the evening, Faye is visited by Drew. In her room, they chat and kiss. The guy likes his friend's pictures, and she is happy to have his company. Anne, as promised, breaks off the relationship with John. Life seems to be getting better. Faye starts dating Drew, and the parents seem happier. The double disappears for a while. Faye and Drew continue to grow closer, and one day are alone together. However, due to bad news about her husband's health, Anne starts dating John again, and Faye's double returns again. One evening, when Faye returns home, she sees that John's car has crashed into a tree. The policeman informs her that the accident was caused by a girl who threw a rock through the window. Fortunately, the woman who was also in the car was barely hurt. Faye is sure that her twin, whom she considers a more perfect version of herself, is to blame for everything. The next day, the girl skips school and visits John in the hospital. Nightmares continue to haunt her. Drew thanks Faye for the picture she left in his locker, but it didn't happen. And the principal, replacing John, asks her to repeat the same lines as yesterday. Faye denies being at rehearsal the day before, but everyone claims to have seen her. The girl runs home in a panic and cries to her father that she is going crazy. Suddenly, her father tells her that he sees Lila too. Late in the pregnancy, Anne's placenta detaches right in the passenger that Faye walks through every day. Then he had to make a difficult choice: sacrifice the life of one of the twins for the survival of the mother and the second child. He signed the necessary papers and never told his wife about this. He's been carrying the burden alone all these years. Since then, he sees the ghost of his dead daughter every day, who wants revenge on them all. Dawn warns Faye not to look into Delilah's face, or it will cost her her life. But Faye is dead tired of the whole damn thing. She is determined to see her twin at last. The girl runs into that passage, screaming and calling out to the ghost, apologizing for her death and asking it to leave their family alone. And finally, Lila appears, a copy of Faye with black empty eyes, and stares at her. Upon returning home, Faye sees an ambulance at the entrance and her elderly neighbor, who keeps complaining about the broken lift. She did say that one day someone would die in it. It turns out that her father was trying to catch up with her, but fell in the faulty lift and died. Faye hugs her sobbing mother. Some time passes. At the school premiere of the play, Faye applies her makeup in front of the mirror and pulls the plaster off her arm. But there is no scar underneath. The mother cheers her daughter on, saying that Daddy would be very proud of her. The girl smiles confidently as she looks in the mirror and goes on stage. Now, she is completely changed. Meanwhile, Faye's sad image of a loser remains forever in the mirror. This is the end of the film. Thank you all for watching this video to the end. Give this video a like. Write in the comments what you think about this film, and see you in new videos.